Welcome back to another episode of the Be the CEO of Your Life and Business podcast. This week, Amy and I are talking about a topic that we have spoken about in the past, but I like to revamp these topics because they're always relevant during certain time periods in our lives. And so this week, we are going to talk about making temporary adjustments to your lifestyle. We've spoken like tangentially, is that a word?
Yeah.
Tangentially,
Yeah.
about like things related to this topic over the last couple weeks. But lately I have made some changes to how I do my morning routine. And so it's a temporary adjustment. I'm seeing how it works. But it made me think that I think this is a topic that's good to talk about at this time of year because we are entering like total chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always total chaos, but like now with the holidays coming up, everybody's stress levels are going to be increasing and increasing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to make an adjustment. And what do I always say? It doesn't have to be permanent, right?
Sure.
So if you're going through a season where you feel like you need to make some kind of adjustment, give yourself a little bit of grace, realize it's not permanent, and just try things to see how they work. So for me, I'm very tied to my morning routine, right? And my workout is always a huge part of it. And so I had been for a while just doing Monday through Friday because that was working for me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was pushing myself too hard in my workouts and I kind of wanted to like take it down a notch.
Yeah.
So I was just focusing on strength training and doing Monday through Friday. And I was exhausted, right? So it worked a little bit. And then I started realizing, I always talk about my Whoop that I wear and it shows what my recovery is when I wake up in the morning. So what I started doing as a temporary adjustment is going by what my recovery is in the morning. So this week I had a bunch of green recoveries. They were actually pretty high. I was like, wow, I was shocked. And so I did my workouts, like my harder workouts on those days. And so this morning I had a lower yellow recovery. So I just did yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's better for my mind and my body at this point to really consider how I'm feeling in the morning because every day is different, right? Like Yesterday was complete chaos. Didn't get home till 9:30 last night because of all the stuff we have going on with the kids. And I knew when I woke up today that it was not going to be a green recovery, and it wasn't.
Right.
So instead of killing myself and pushing myself to do like a harder workout, I said, you know what? I'm going to do yoga this morning. And so that is one adjustment that I'm making to get me through this chaotic time period right now. It's been working so far.
What I like about this in particular is because I know I can speak for myself and I know I can probably speak for Laura in this regard that we have had programming that says you just have to do the thing and you're going to feel better. You have to just get it done. You're going to feel better. It's going to be good. And it's like, of course, we all know at this point that when you do a workout, it gives you an endorphin rush. We know that like all of there's positive effects to it, but it's how is that going to set you up for the day? And that's, I think, the biggest shift because going into the season that we are with like the hectic schedules, like we're already smack in the middle of it, but we know it's only going to get busier from this point to the end of the year. There'll be days, I know I do this too. I will wake up and I'll say, I know I'm going to be sitting at my desk all day. Instead of going downstairs and just doing a workout, I'm going to go for a walk.
I love that.
I'm not going to be away from my desk all day. And now it's been torrentially downpouring. Today would have been a great day for it. But I woke up and I was like, I have to work out inside, weather permitting, and I wasn't going to go out there. But it's like you can make those changes. And it's really hard for those of us that are programmed like robots to follow a schedule. And if you don't follow the schedule, then you're not completing the task. And if you don't complete the task, you're not successful. And it's like this programming that I joke about it now, but I still am a victim to it because it's so entrenched in us.
We've been operating this way for so many years. And I feel like that's one thing that I've really changed as I've gotten older is trying not to be, and I'm still not good at it, but trying not to be so robotic,
rigid
and robotic in my daily life. Like 5 years, not even maybe 3 years ago, or even last year at this point, I had a routine. If I was doing a workout program, that was it. I had to do it on the specific day of the week that it was supposed to be done, the specific workout that was supposed to be done that way. And there literally, unless I was dying with the flu, there was no, and you know this about
I
me,
know.
there was no deviation at all.
No, you know what you would do is you would modify during it, right?
Yes.
You'd be like,
Yep.
you know what? Not feeling that great. So I didn't do as hard of it. And then you sit there and you kind of like beat yourself up and you're like, maybe I could have pushed harder. Like, what if I did something different? Then it would have been felt better. It's like, we still go through those, you know, those conversations with ourselves in our head and be like, oh, well, what if?
And I had to say to myself, especially this week, because things I texted my mom yesterday. I was like, I am so stressed.
Mhm.
And so I really need to start like just pulling from the things that I'm grateful for to like remind myself to take it down a notch.
Yeah.
But with everything we have going on with the kids and with work, I just feel incredibly overwhelmed at times.
Yeah.
And so I had to say to myself, okay, you're a human being. You're not a robot.
Mhm.
And there are just going to be days where you're not feeling it. And this morning, I also knew I was doing a 24-hour fast today, which is getting total side
So
note,
easy.
getting easier every time I do it. This is, I think, the third time or the
So
fourth time that I'm
crazy.
doing it. So, I knew I was doing that today and I said, you know what, I am just going to do yoga this morning and that is okay. And I think, one of the biggest problems that is, I can speak for myself that I've had in the past is giving myself a little grace.
Yeah.
And not being so hard on myself if I didn't kill myself in the morning during my workout,
Can I tell you this? So just jumping into the fasting that Laura is doing. When I first read this book, Fast Like a Girl, that we've been talking about for like weeks now, I loved it because at first I was like, oh, there's another plan. I can
Yes.
follow a plan. This is amazing. And literally, I just had this light bulb go off. I first of all, I love it. I love all the science behind it. I love everything that supports it. I love it. I love making the adjustments to our, like the food that we pick up and like but you're a human being, okay? Like we are not robotic. I'm not trying to live my life the same way that the doctor is. And I'm not sitting here trying to make excuses for myself, but it's okay to go off plan. Like,
Is it though?
Is it though? I mean, but I would say, I'm saying to myself here, like, okay, so where I am in the fasting protocol right now, I have a power phase. So I can extend the length of my fast, which by the way, was amazing today. I dove right into work. I didn't feel a blip of hunger. It was incredible, right? But at the same time, today is one of those days where I could also push my body to do a really intense workout because of just where my hormones are at right now. My hormones tell me I can push. I should be lifting really heavy weights or I should go really, really hard in my workouts. And I woke up this morning with like an itchy throat. There's a little germs happening in my house. I just got over being sick earlier this week. And I just knew that pushing myself really hard was not going to be the way to do it. So I did a low impact cardio workout that I love.
Which one did you do?
I did from 4 weeks for everybody. I did cardio from week 1 and it's low impact, actually no impact, right? No impact cardio. It's 25 minutes, 28 minutes. It was amazing. Now, under this plan, I'm supposed to be doing like, I don't know, bench pressing 100 pounds or like deadlifts or whatever. And that would be great. But like, it's okay to make that temporary adjustment to just feel what you're feeling, feel how you are feeling. You're not just this like machine being pulled out of a book or a workout program or a morning routine or a daily, day at work. You are a human that has certain needs too, that can't be overlooked for the sake of like following the plan or following the protocols. Right.
It's so funny that you say that because I was thinking this morning about the fasting program that we're doing. And I think this is the 4th month that like my 4th 30-day cycle that I'm doing.
I think that
Either
makes
the
sense.
4th or the 5th. I don't remember. And so I was thinking about how, okay, like I've done this a bunch of times now And I could probably, and she promotes this too, like figure out what works for you.
Mhm.
It's like the 30-day fasting reset that she has is meant to be like a jumping off point. But once you've done it a little bit, modify it, try longer fasts, see what works for you.
Right.
And see how it goes. And so I was just thinking this morning, like, maybe I'll do a 36-hour fast. I have to see how I feel later. I don't know how it's going to go.
Right.
But, just trying different things and modifying it to see how it'll work for my lifestyle and the
Yes.
phase that I'm in. So I think it's important to not be so tied to, listen, if you are just starting out, just starting on your health and fitness journey, trying to eat healthier, and this is where I was all those years ago, like having that plan is like a lifeboat, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's your like instruction manual.
right. So follow it, once you get into a routine. But like my problem is I would get into the routine and never get off of it.
Well, and that's the point, right? So I used to think the same exact thing where I would get to a point in either a workout program, a nutrition program, and then there would be something else introduced that was like outside the realm of what we were doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but how do you reconcile this? This information is amazing. It's incredible. And then I forgot that like at that point I was becoming an expert in the position I was in.
Right.
Not an expert in like I knew everything, but like I was seasoned enough that what I was doing probably needed a little slight adjustment so that it would still be effective, because otherwise I would be too adapted to it. And I could never get over that hurdle in my mindset. Like, wait a second, but if this is incredible information, what about giving it to the beginners? And sometimes when you're just starting out, that's never going to help you because it's too far away from what you need to fix in the moment. Like the habits that you need to create, setting up and creating just one habit that you can follow every single day for 30 days. It might sound really silly, but like, just try it. If you have never tried sticking to one habit consistently over a course of a 30-day period, it can be really eye-opening. And so that's just even like a small adjustment that you could make without going leaps and bounds and being like, I'm diving into the advanced protocol because I want to see results or I want to see changes or whatever. It's like, sometimes you don't have to go extreme. You just have to do those small habits consistently.
Yeah. You have to start small, but even like starting a new workout program or like, it's great to follow the program, do what you're supposed to do. But once you've been in it for a bit, it's okay to deviate a little bit, make a temporary adjustment to figure out what works for you. And so now that's where I am with this fasting protocol. Like now, I'm changing it a little bit, I started it with the original one, right? The basic one. And then after 3 months or 2 months or whatever, I was like, you know what, let me try the advanced and see how that goes.
Yeah.
So last month I did the advanced and then I'm doing it again now, but I'm going to try to modify it a little bit to see if I can make it work even better for me. Right.
Yeah.
Because my body has adjusted really well to it and I'm just enjoying it. But I've changed in that I'm not so tied to following the program month after month after month, like we did with all of the programs we used to do.
I think underlying this too is this idea of like, where are you attaching the value in what you're doing?
Right.
Is your value in, I've got to finish what I've started, or I've got to do it the way that it's set up and presented to me? Or is your value, how am I feeling today? What's going to be best for me today, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everythingly? How is it going to be the best tool for me today? And how is it going to affect my day overall? Those are significantly different values, right? Yes. Like if you value starting something and finishing something, then following a plan to a T is going to be the thing that like lights you on fire. And that was me, folks. Like I love starting and ending a program. And even now it's like, I still struggle with deviating off of like a workout program. Cause I'm like, oh,
did you used to print out the calendar?
Laura, is that a question?
Well, I have calendars all over my basement.
I have calendars everywhere. I have binders with like all of the program materials. And I felt like I had to finish everything instead of making that slight adjustment so that it was what was best for me and best for what I was in the mood for. And like, listen, I don't think that this can be categorically applied to everything in your life, right? Like when it comes to your business, like, ooh, how do I feel today?
No.
Well, sometimes you guys should be disciplined and do the work. Okay. This morning in particular, like I said, I wasn't feeling the greatest, but I knew that I had to get to work early today. And I was like, all right, alarm goes off. I can't snooze today. Like there's gotta get out of bed, gotta go get my day going. And there's just some things that you just have to do. But when you're talking about making these little adjustments, I think that this really taps into the idea of like, how do you want to feel for the day? How is it going to help support you and what you have to do today? Right.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's really been life-changing for me
Yeah.
to make that adjustment, from being so rigid and so tied to my routine. Even when I just started doing Monday through Friday for my workouts, even that was like, oh, how am I going to do this?
But that's like a cycle, right? That's really tough to break because you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to match my weekdays with my workouts. Work. And then the weekends are for rest. But sometimes I have more energy to do a great workout on a weekend than I do during the week.
Yeah. So last Sunday I woke up and I was like, you know what? I slept great last night. I'm going to do the first day of my week in terms of the workouts today. So I did it on Sunday. I had a great workout and I was so glad that I did. But if I had been so rigid, so tied to my routine, I would not have worked out that day.
Right.
You know, I feel I got a lot out of that. It made me feel better. It gave me energy. And I was glad to have the hardest workout of the week done because I felt good enough to do it.
That's amazing.
But when I was doing Monday through Friday, when I first started, like made that adjustment, and that was also a temporary adjustment, right? So when I first started Monday through Friday and that first Saturday, I was like, what do I do with my morning? I mean, of course I have a million things to do in the house, but I need something when I first wake up in the morning. I cannot just dive into the day with my kids. I need like
a little
space.
buffer.
I need a little buffer before I'm just diving headfirst into all the things.
Yes.
So what I did was I still got up, didn't put workout clothes on, just stayed in my pajamas, went downstairs and did my journal and read for a little bit and did some breathing exercises. And that was it. And then I was done. So it wasn't a whole 2-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
But it was just like a little piece of my morning routine to kind of keep that consistency. But it was a total change for me. And after a while, I got used to it. And now it's working better because if I'm away for like a baseball tournament, I don't have to worry about bringing all my workout stuff, because the weekends I haven't been doing workouts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a good temporary adjustment for me. Now I'm going to make another shift and we'll see how that works. But the point is that it doesn't have to be permanent. It's just temporary and you find what works for you. Look, if you make this little shift and you don't like it, you can always go back to what you're doing before. Right.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite line.
I love that idea. And you know, there's always going to be, what do people call it? It's like your soulmate like program or your soulmate nutrition plan. And I actually was listening to a podcast earlier this week. I think it was Rachel Hollis's podcast. And she was talking about how she went back to a nutrition plan that she knew worked for her.
Right.
But she had deviated from it. And, she was like, duh, like just go back to it if I know that it works. And like, sometimes, yeah, it's a bigger question without this being a very long podcast. It's a question of what do you value? What do you consider to be success in your life? Is it a failure if you don't complete things the way that it's set to plan? If look, for some of us, that is like a failure. It is a struggle to view it that way, but it's definitely a different shift in mindset. If you can practice and continue to practice that these temporary adjustments are just that. They are just temporary in nature. Nothing is permanent. You can always go back to home. You can always go home, as Laura said recently. You don't have to just, keep on plowing through and doing what you're doing just for the sake of something else, this external, whatever, validation or anything.
Yes. So if you have something in your life that you're thinking maybe it's not working anymore, you'd like to make a change, make that temporary adjustment, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, fine. Go back to what you were doing, try something else. But it doesn't have to be permanent. So make the adjustments, see if it works, and maybe it will. And maybe
Yeah.
it'll be something that you stick with for a little bit and then you switch to something else. But give yourself a little bit of grace, try new things. It's always great to develop new habits, figure out which ones work, which ones don't, because that's part of life, right?
100%.
It's part of life. You just
Yep.
gotta roll with it, see what works for you. And you know what? If you make a positive change, it'll be all the better. Your life will be better for it. So we hope these tips were helpful. We thank you for spending time with us, and we'll talk to you on the next episode.